Actual Test 2. Listening Comprehension. In this part of the text, you will demonstrate your ability to understand spoken English. There are 4 sections in this part of the test. Section 1. Questions and answers 1 to 10. For each item in this section, you will hear a question in a variety of situations. Following that, you will hear 3 possible answers. Choose the most appropriate response to the statement or question. Listen carefully, as you will hear each item just once, and the statements and answer choices are not written out for you. For example, you will hear, "How's the weather outside?" 1. I'm late for school. 2. Feathers are very light. 3. It's raining now. The best answer to "How's the weather outside?" is 3. It's raining now. Therefore, you should choose answer 3. Now, let us begin section 1 with question number 1. Section 1. Question 1. You are very fit. Do you exercise regularly?
1. Thank you. I do math exercises every evening. 2. Yes, I do. I watch soccer on the television each week. 3. Yes, I do. I play tennis 3 times a week.
Question 2. How have you been doing these days?
1. Winters are very cold here. 2. I'm feeling fine. 3. We have longer daylight in summer.
Question 3. How do you like living in this city?
1. I'm enjoying it. 2. I solved the problem by changing my address. 3. It is a long way from my hometown.
Question 4. I think he might be expecting me.
1. He lives next door to my close friend. 2. I met him before. 3. Do you have an appointment with him?
Question 5. Rock climbing can be very dangerous, but you are clearly a risk taker.
1. It is one of my favorite extreme sports. 2. I really like this rocking chair. 3. You must not allow the dangerous experiment.
Question 6.
Hello. It is nice to see you back. Did you enjoy your trip?
Yes, thanks. I went to Brussels for some meetings.
Do you think those meetings were profitable?
1. This is likely to be our most successful year. 2. I think they generated a lot of business for the company. 3. The business has not made a loss this year. Question 7. Do you want to try it? It's really fun.
No thanks. It's too cold and windy. And honestly, I'm not crazy about the idea of flying down a mountain on one thin piece of wood.
1. I am very happy to hear that. 2. But that's the fun part. 3. You look so exciting. Question 8. Believe it or not, there is a company in California that offers a pet cloning service. For $15,000, you can have an exact copy of your pet.
1. I like your dog very much. 2. Did you make so much money? 3. That's so wonderful.
Question 9. The planet Mars has fascinated people since ancient times. and that fascination has continued to this day. In fact, these days, Mars is again receiving a lot of attention.
1. What makes the planet fascinating? 2. Mars is the least attractive planet. 3. I don't think you are fascinating.
Question 10. Well, what kind of gift do you think I should get for her?
She's registered online, so you can see what she's already gotten and what she still needs. Would you like me to write down the internet address for you?
1. Sure, that would be great. 2. I already gave her a present. 3. You insulted me. Section 2. Questions 11 to 20. Dialogue. For each question in this section, you will hear a dialogue between two people. It will be spoken just once. Listen to the dialogue carefully and read the question and the 4 answer choices and decide which one is the best answer to the question. For example, you will hear,
Shall we go out for a walk?
Okay, but how's the weather? And now you read, what would be the best response of the woman?
1. This book is very easy to read. 2. It couldn't be better. 3. I don't have to go outside to work. 4. It was a wonderful day.
From the conversation, the best response by the woman is 2. Therefore, you should choose answer 2. Now let us begin section 2 with question number 11. Question 11. Why do you always buy organic produce for your family?
It is much healthier for them as it has not been sprayed with chemicals and has a better flavor.
But it is much more expensive than the ordinary food. Do you consider it worth paying the extra? Question 12. Did you hear that our neighbors had a car accident last week?
Yes, I knew on Monday. It wasn't serious, though. They skidded into a tree, but luckily they weren't going fast.
They're very lucky. I hear the car is a total write-off. It's a miracle no one was injured. Question 13. I would like to make a reservation for a double room for 3 nights this week and 4 nights next week.
Certainly, sir. Do you have a business discount voucher for our company? You would qualify for a discount as a regular guest.
I would be grateful if you could email me details of this scheme so that I can take advantage of it. Question 14. I have a job interview today, and I have no idea what to wear.
I'd say you should wear the blue suit you bought at Macy's.
Question 15. Why is it old ladies find it impossible to queue? They push other people out of the way.
I think teenagers are the worst. They just seem to mill around and then wander to the front.
Mind you, it is only in England that people seem to be concerned about queuing and its fairness. Question 16. Why was your daughter late for school this morning?
The traffic was very heavy, as there is road work. I will leave earlier tomorrow.
Question 17. The 3 candidates all have different attributes that they would bring to the job.
It is almost impossible to decide who would be best. It is a tough decision.
Question 18. Why do Americans say things they don't mean? They act so nice, like they always say, "How are you?" But then they keep on walking and don't even wait for your answer. They seem to be two-faced.
I know it seems that way sometimes, Mark, but it's not true. It's just for Americans. Friendliness and friendship aren't always the same thing.
Question 19. According to this article, Esperanto is actually an artificial language. It was invented in 1887 by a man from Poland.
That's interesting. So who speaks this language now?
Well, it says here that there may be as many as 15 million people who speak Esperanto as a second language. Question 20. Why are you talking to your computer?
I'm not talking to it, I'm giving a dictation.
What do you mean?
There's a great software program. It understands what I'm saying and writes down the words.
Section 3. Questions 21 to 30. Long dialogue. For each question in this section, you will hear a dialogue between two persons. It will be spoken just one time. Listen to the dialogue carefully and read the question and the 4 possible answers, and decide which one is the best answer to the question. Now let us begin Section 3 with question number 21. Questions 21 to 22. Well, the theme we will be addressing today is how insects are related to humans. Can anyone tell us about insects? Susan, you might want to go first.
It is widely believed that all insects are threatening and harmful to humans. However, they also benefit us in a variety of ways. Insects, such as mosquitoes, can give humans diseases like malaria, which makes us do whatever possible to avoid being bitten by them. When they bite or draw blood from us, they carry viruses which can infiltrate human bodies. But it would be extremely difficult for humans to survive as well if insects did not exist on the globe. On the contrary, insects serve human beings in many different ways. Specifically speaking, insects pollinate our flowers and crops. They are preyed on by animal species and help the remains of animal bodies to decompose, a function which is similar to that of bacteria. Through the process of decomposing in particular, they do clean up our trash and make our environment a better place to live in. If there were no insects, it's likely that the planet would be a nasty and unhealthy place on which to live.
Questions 23 to 24. Sport is ubiquitous. Throughout the world, there is a proliferation of magazines devoted to sport, and sports stars have become cultural icons. Why is this?
Sport is a democratic activity which we can all participate in and find enjoyment from. The stars that emerge come from ordinary backgrounds. We see a level of skill, but there is always an element of uncertainty as we do not know who will win. Television enables millions to access sporting events across the globe, and the money accumulated from sponsors and advertising has led to the emergence of wealthy superstars and teams. Nevertheless, sport, as seen at the Olympics and World Cup, can unify nations.
Questions 25 to 26.
You earlier said that wasted food poses another serious problem to us. Could you say again what that was?
The vast amounts of food lost to spoilage and insects in poor countries and simply tossed away in rich ones represent an enormous stream of wasted water. The amounts of waste are staggering. In the United States, nearly 1/3 of the food that is produced each year, worth about $48 billion, is discarded. The water it takes to process that wasted food amounts to about 10 trillion gallons. Many European countries have similar losses, proportional to their size. One reason for the waste is simply that In prospering countries, as food costs have become an ever smaller proportion of total household budgets, the amount of discarded food has ballooned. Losses in poorer countries most often occur in fields and storehouses, through spoilage and damage by pests. According to a recent report, more than 1 billion people now live in areas with insufficient water. One way or another, it's clear that improved efficiency in food production and water use will be needed in a world of growing populations seeking decent lives.
Numbers 27 to 28. Hello, Watson. This is Mary. I hope everything is going well.
I am very pleased to hear from you. Is everything all right there, too?
Yes, thanks. By the way, I've changed my mind, Watson. Instead of going alone, I am going to Vancouver with my family, my husband, and 2 daughters. Could you please confirm that the room you reserved for me has 2 double beds?
I've already checked all the details about your accommodation. Your room can easily be changed to a double-bedded room to accommodate you and your husband.
That sounds great.
But there is one problem. This hotel doesn't have rooms with 2 double beds. If your daughters are adult, they can stay in another room. But if they are too small to stay in a separate room, it would be a problem.
That's too bad. My daughters are only 2 and 4 years old.
Oh. Then they are too young to use a separate room. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to cancel the reserved room and check out other hotels?
I am so sorry to bother you, but would you check other hotels?
Question 29 to 30. I've heard that you have become a vegetarian. Is there any special reason for that?
I've thought of it for a long time. As you know, raising livestock requires a lot of food and land. It is quite common for ranchers to clear land to raise their cattle, especially in Latin American countries. It causes really serious environmental problems because to establish grasslands for grazing, forests need to be completely cleared.
You have reminded me of a news article which stated that U.S. fast food chains have purchased large tracts of land there to keep the price of beef low.
That's exactly right. Fast food hamburger chains can keep their prices low because they buy beef cheaply from Latin American cattle ranchers. However, the hidden costs of the beef include the environmental costs, deforestation, and rising global temperatures.
Section 4. Questions 31 to 50. Short talks. In this section of the test, you will hear short talks. After each talk, you will be asked some questions. You will hear the talks just one time. The questions are written in your test booklet, and they will not be spoken. Therefore, after you hear a talk, read the questions and the 4 possible answers, and decide which one is the best answer to the question. Now, let us begin Section 4 with question number 31. Questions 31 to 32.
I'm not sure about the style. It is much longer than I usually wear, although, as you say, I am tall enough to wear it, I think. I usually buy one in black, so choosing red is quite adventurous, but it is a very bright color. The days are so overcast it will cheer me up. It is also lovely and warm, just right for the cold mornings.
Questions 33 to 34. In the 19th century, American and British fishermen nearly wiped out the Antarctic seal. However, the seals have made an astonishing comeback, and the current seal population is rapidly increasing. Although scientists admit there may be other factors responsible for the return of the Antarctic seal, they are convinced that the severe decrease in the baleen whale population is a major cause. The baleen whale and the Antarctic seal once competed for the same food source, a tiny shellfish called krill. With the baleen whale practically extinct, the seals now have an almost unlimited food supply. That increase in the food supply is clearly one reason for the seals' comeback. Questions 35 to 36.
Gender roles are taught throughout one's life cycle, but parents probably have the greatest influence, especially when children are very young. Early on, parents reinforce the roles considered appropriate to their child's gender, with remarks such as, "What a good, sweet girl," or "What a big, strong boy." These statements are usually accompanied by smiles and nods of approval or pleasure. Actually, most, if not all, of the forces of socialization in our culture reinforce the notion that boys and girls play different roles based on their gender. The resulting set of traits is what we call masculinity and femininity.
Questions 37 to 38. At a time when the world's top climate experts agree that carbon emissions must be rapidly reduced to limit global warming, Italy's major electricity producer is converting its massive power plant from oil to coal, generally considered the dirtiest fuel on Earth. However, Italy is not alone in its return to coal. Driven by rising demand, record-high oil and natural gas prices, concerns over energy security, and an aversion to nuclear energy, European countries are expected to put into operation about 50 coal-fired plants over the next 5 years, plants that will be in use for the next 5 decades. In the United States, fewer new coal plants are likely to begin operation, in part because it is becoming harder to get regulatory permits, and in part because nuclear power remains an alternative. Of 151 proposals in early 2007, more than 60 have been dropped by the year's end, many blocked by state governments. Dozens of others are stuck in court challenges. The fast-expanding developing economies of India and China, where coal remains a major fuel source for more than 2 billion people, have long been regarded as among the biggest challenges to reducing carbon emissions. But the return now to coal, even in eco-conscious Europe, is sowing real alarm among environmentalists, who warn that it is setting the world on a disastrous trajectory that will make controlling global warming impossible. Questions 39 to 40.
Some insects, such as termites, ants, and many bees and wasps, are the most familiar species of social animal. They live together in large, well-organized colonies that are very tightly integrated. The various species of honeybee are the only invertebrates, and indeed one of the few non-human groups, to have evolved a system of abstract symbolic communication. They can convey specific information about something in the environment by dance language. Only those insects that live in nests or colonies demonstrate any true capacity for fine-scale spatial orientation or homing. The homing instinct is a very complex mechanism. It allows an insect to return without mistake to a single hole a few millimeters in diameter among a mass of thousands of apparently identical holes all clustered together, after a trip of up to several kilometers distance, and in cases where an insect hibernates as much as a year after last viewing the area. A few insects migrate, but this is a larger-scale form of navigation and often involves only large general regions. For example, monarch butterflies migrate to spend the winter at a certain place.
Questions 41 to 42. Dixons, the UK's largest electrical chain, has announced it is going to stop stocking videocassette recorders. The company expects to sell its remaining stock by Christmas, and it does not plan to buy any more. The first VCR went on sale in Dixons in 1978 for £798, the equivalent of £5,000 in today's money. The main cause of the death of the VCR is competition from DVDs, which are now much cheaper and faster and are preferred by customers. Question 43 to 44.
Hi, Mary. Sue here. Could you do me a big favor tomorrow and look after Amy for a few hours in the afternoon? It was the only time I could get myself a hair appointment, and I know you said you could have her if necessary. I'll be back in time for you to go to school to pick up Stuart. Thanks a lot. Any problems? Phone me or pop over the road.
Questions 45 to 46. It was practiced superbly by the early Christians, who were willing to face hungry lions and the excruciating pain of chopping blocks rather than submit to certain unjust laws of the Roman Empire. To a degree, academic freedom is a reality today because Socrates practiced civil disobedience. In our own nation, the Boston Tea Party represented a massive act of civil disobedience. We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. It was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. Question 47 to 48.
Treetops Timber Frames was set up in 1980 to produce house frames for the construction industry. The company expanded rapidly, taking on new staff and moving to larger premises. As interest rates rose in the 1990s, there was a drop in demand and the bank became worried about its loan. Eventually, the bank asked for the loan to be repaid. The business could not raise the money, and so it failed and had to close, making a number of people redundant.
Questions 49 to 50. In recent years, there has been an increase in companies specializing in direct selling. As the high street has changed in appearance and the number of hardware stores decreased, more people have turned to direct selling companies. The advantage of direct selling is the low costs incurred. There are no shop overheads, and the company does not manufacture any of the goods it sells. The company sells its products using an army of 10,000 salespeople who deliver the catalogs door to door and return a few days later to collect any orders.